can I just say, if anyone out there is in like a One Piece fantasy league where they're predicting future events on like a bingo card or something, anyone who actually said Instant Messenger Sama, Emu, shows up on Elbaf, your parlay hit. It hit tenfold. Massive returns, massive gains. I feel the same exact way that I did when the Gorosei all made fall in the Starfall chapter 11:10. The Figureland Stabs chapter, it impacted me because of how big of a Shanks fan I am. And just how nuts the end of that chapter was. Sanjay Garcia Saturn showing up on Egghead was huge, because it was the first time we actually saw Gorosei popping up. But what made the Gorosei Starfall chapter so incredibly impactful, both the cliffhanger in 1109 and the actual aftermath in 1110, what made those chapters so impactful is these are individuals that we've known for so long as the highest authority. And when they started moving in the series, and we got more screen time with them in the series, we understood that's when we were in the true endgame of the story. There is nothing more endgame than Emu. Nothing more endgame than Instant Messenger Sama. Some could argue that it's Blackbeard, right? Some could argue Kainu. But as far as like the overall narrative has been pointing to, and the figure that has been, holding this entire series into the way that it's become, from the first world to the second world, now present in the third world, it's all thanks to Emu. And the connection with Nika, the connection with Joy Boy. So the Gorosei showing up at 1110 was absolutely insane. One of the craziest things I've ever experienced. But Emu himself showing up on Elbaf? If you would have told me Emu's popping up on Lodestar, Emu's popping up on Laughtail, Emu's popping up on whatever after that, I would have been like, yeah, it makes total sense. Total sense. Elbaf? I thought we were already good just on the Holy Knights. Just on Stabs. In the same arc as the mural, we got an appearance from Instant Messenger Sama. That sort of changed the way that we even viewed the character and what Emu was capable of doing. Because we always knew Emu was capable of communicating telepathically. That Emu potentially utilizes the abilities of the other individuals, utilizing the arrow from Gunko to take out Cobra, right? Utilizing whatever the ability was to bring back Sanjay Garcia Saturn into himself, right? An extremely powerful individual. But to be able to directly take over someone's body in an instant, it immediately opens the question of who else can he do it to, and how many individuals can he do it to? Because then you get into the conversation of Command and Conquer Emu Edition. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's insane. It is insane, bro. It's crazy. What kind of conversation are we having? The last conversation I was expecting to have after the end of the last chapter was Emu's on Elbaf. Not only that, the Holy Land is on fire. What does that mean? Sabo? Dragon? The Revs? Is it Blackbeard? I don't know, man. This is an arc with Shanks' family. Is it flipping Shanks? I don't know, bro. I don't know, but it's exciting. Because Emu's like, yo, y'all need to come back. And because I need y'all to come back, I will take care of the situation right here, right now, because I know what's stopping me. Did you see his hockey? Did you see the way the hockey took over the entire backside of Gunko there at the end? The long hair coming down, the emu eyes, and the straight up hockey behind. Bro, Gunko was handling business on her own. Straight business. Now emu's in the body? Forget it. What are we doing? What are we gonna do? What are we going to do? What in the flying flagnards are we gonna do? Gabon is gonna probably land by Luffy. Chopper is gonna land there as well. And we're gonna be able to hear Gabon speaking to Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, and Loki. And they're probably gonna feel the insane amount of Conqueror's hockey coming from above. Because they felt Shanks' hockey. They felt the crazy Joy Boy hockey. They felt the Gordoseis hockey when they appeared. When just Saturn appeared, let alone when all 5 Gordoseis showed up. Oh, their menacing hockey. What about the one who leads them? The one who's kept the world the way that it's been for the past 1,000 years. Nerona Emu. What is going on? What is going on? I just don't know what happens next chapter, man. But it's so exciting. It's so exciting, bro. That final double spread, the way that it escalated is something that should be taught in a masterclass, man. You go from the Gabon craziness to the Brook and Gunko connection in some capacity. What in the world is going on? We already knew there was something there, but we thought it was just due to the music thing. Now it's real. Now it's legit, and it was a memory that was locked away, which is so interesting. What else is Emu capable of doing? We've heard of the possibility of like wide-scale memory wipe in regards to what happened in the past, right? Overriding information, using propaganda to cause a large-scale memory wipe, but not actual memory wiping, as well as locking away memories. That's fascinating. So that's something that we've seen within somebody like Kuma when they've gotten to the point to where they're barely human, right? And even then, he was still able to go up in like swimwear against AJ Garcia's Saturn when he was barely himself because of the love, right, that was carrying him and the feelings that he had for Bonnie. But when you get into something like this, it's so interesting. It's so interesting because then you think it can't just be Gunko that potentially had her abilities manipulated. It might be all of the Holy Knights that did. Which might be why they are as ruthless as they are. Because if Gunko had those very same memories while she was potentially even handling the situation with the kids, she may not have done what she was supposed to do with Colin. So I wonder how we're going to explore that, because that is very fascinating. Just from even from a straight up like a brainwashing perspective of so that you won't have any type of rebellion against you, any type of it's just so immensely, it made Emu even more interesting to me than Emu already was, because we have here is a character who's always looking out for any type of thing that could potentially be a thorn in his side, right, that could potentially ruin something. And so when you bring in the idea that of locking away Gunko's memories, then you have the Gunko section. Then you immediately follow that up with what in the world's happening in the Holy Land, which I can't stop thinking about. What is happening in the Holy Land? All of us have thought for so many years that the Revolutionary Army stuff and the stuff that is going to happen in the Holy Land is like extreme endgame. We're here. We're here. In the exact same chapter where we got some final war potential, we also got Emu showing up on Elbaf through Gunko. We are in that final endgame stretch. If the mural wasn't enough to sell you, if what happened on Egghead wasn't enough to sell you, this chapter shows you we are on final Saga Oda piece. Still got a couple years left, obviously. But Emu just showed up. And while Emu just showed up, while the potential final boss of the series just showed up, the other final boss may be causing chaos in Blackbeard. or Shanks, or Dragon. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Shanks or Dragon's the final boss. I'm saying the other individuals that are within this entire big war may have made their move too. What's happening in the Holy Land? But it's so incredibly exciting. Because if we go around the world in any capacity, in the chapters to come, we're in for one of the greatest stretches in One Piece history. Emu Luffy. I can't even continue. Emu Luffy interaction this early in the story? I say early. 11:49 chapters in. But it feels early, man. This early in the story. I'll stop the recording there for a second. And the gates of composure, man. It's been 800 years, Nika.
Stop it, man.
Love it, bro. Love it. So, a potential Emu Luffy Loki interaction would just be. It would be beautiful. Magnificent. I would be there no matter what. Especially with the implications to the past and the future. Oh, I would be there no matter what, man. No matter what. That would change the whole course of the series. But if in mid-conversation, we were to also potentially switch and or see, because there's so much that could come of this, right? Mid-Emu seeing Luffy, we could get a piece of the Void Century flashback right then and there through Emu's perspective. We could very well see our first look at Joy Boy, maybe like a silhouetted, another look at Joy Boy from a silhouetted perspective, like we did in Egghead. But we could see our very first, like, true piece of the Void Century flashback as far as Emu's concerned, right? Like, I'm sure the Emmett and Joy Boy section is going to come back to us when we get to the Void Century flashback through Joy Boy's perspective. But from Emu's perspective, that is going to be our first opportunity to truly see the Joy Boy that he knew, right? So we could get a super cool page of like Emu looking at Luffy, potentially going into Gear 5, and he has memories of Joy Boy. Oh, you know how peak that would be, bro. That would be the pinnacle. So you have that. Excuse me, the potential possibility. A Void Century connection, Luffy interaction with the potential final boss of the story. And then in the midst of all this, we're trying to understand what in the flying fun is going on in the Holy Land. Because if it truly is Dragon going up in like swimwear, could you even fathom that those being in chapters? Like in an around the world segment in Egghead? Where we go from one chapter and it's like Sabo going up in like swimwear against one of the Gorosei. He's like, yo, I'll come back to run the ones again, but I'm not alone this time. And like the Gorosei of... and you have Dragon. Bro, I don't care if Dragon's fighting Stabs, if Dragon's fighting Garling, if Dragon's fighting another Emu, if Dragon's fighting the Gorosei. I'm here, man. Could you imagine Dragon in a panel the same way he had his son against all 5 Gorosei? It's him with all 5 Gorosei. Get out of town. Get out of town, bro. Yo, Dog. Bro, the planet is going to burst. Luffy versus Emu in the same arc as Dragon going up in like swimwear against, I don't care who it is. Like I said, I don't care if it's Garling, Stabs, the Gorosei, it don't matter. The planet's gonna burst. And in the midst of all of this chaos, if we also have some sort of Yonko craziness, like if it's Blackbeard, I would, bro, Blackbeard up against the Gorosei or up against Stabs. Because of the rocks thing, man, and Garling's talking, and then we could potentially get like a little bit of a God Valley flower. The two things what we all want to see so much. God Valley flashback and Void Century flashback, both implicated on the Elbaf side and potentially even on the Holy Land side too. How nuts would that be, man? We could even get another look into rocks. So we just got that just recently, right? Oh, man, how peak would that be? How peak would that be? We already know we're gonna get that when we get to the Loki flashback and see some of the Rock's greatness. He looked up to Rox. Rox was his Shanks. So Loki... Oh, man. Oh, I can't wait. The Loki flashback, we're already gonna see Rox, so we might as well get it on the God Valley side too, right? And maybe we're just asking for too much, but it's like in the midst of all this craziness, man, all these potential possibilities just keep coming up. So it's like chaos is happening around the world. We understand that coming off of this arc, it is going to be complete chaos, but it's already there. If it's not a metaphor, and the Holy Land is truly in flames, even if it is a metaphor, that means that there's so much chaos going on up there that Emu of all individuals, has to be like, yo, y'all gotta come back. It's going crazy. It's going crazy. So, I have to wonder. I can't even imagine what next week's chapter has. Because like I said, I don't care where we go, I'm excited. Whether we go around the world or whether we stay with Emu and we see Emu interactions with the Straw Hats, Emu interactions with the Giants, Emu interactions with a place of Elbaf which has so much history in it. Emu interactions with obviously Luffy, right? And it's like injected, man. Flipping injected, dude. So I don't know how we get out of this situation. I genuinely don't. Alright. Low-key, I don't even want us to get out of this situation, right? Let's stay here. Let's stay in the situation as long as possible. Stretch out that tension, baby. Oh, man, if we get Dragon and Akainu in a stand... Oh. Come on, man. I don't know, bro. Yo, it's nuts out here, man. I need that Dragon Emu face-off, though, bro. Like, when Emu lets go of Gonko's body and returns back to the Holy Land, we've got to follow him. We got to follow him and get that Dragon interaction, man. You know how peak that would be? You know how long I've been waiting for a Dragon Emu standoff, man? That's all Laz and I have been, like, feeding over for so long. Are you kidding me? That's going to be our real insight into many different things. Potentially what he originally got into this entire situation for, and then the mom possibility and the connection to Luffy, and it's so many things can come out of that. So many things can come out of that interaction and confrontation. What is happening, man? Emus on Elbaf, bro. What's gonna come up with this? What in the world is gonna come up with this, man? I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. This chapter is nuts, dude. This chapter is flipping nuts. Alright, I don't have very long if I want to get this video uploaded before I go. But let's go ahead and read a few comments here. Starting off with Quag2, who obviously delivered a really, really awesome comment during the stream. Continues and says, that final spread might have had the most back-to-back bombshell reveals I've ever experienced reading One Piece, man. I'm still gobsmacked. It was insane. Well, I wanted to follow up on what I said at the end of the stream about Emu potentially only being able to possess the bodies of the princesses. After thinking about it for a second, I believe the reason why Emu needs a vessel to possess in the first place is because Emu might not be able to expose himself to the sun. Ooh. Interesting. So they can't leave the confines of either the throne room and the Lost Chamber, as some of the Marijoa guards called it. It probably links back to the sapphire scale disease. Maybe Emu is even the origin of it. That is a great point. I didn't even think about that. With the way the sun is like the main thing behind that, right? But with a vessel, Emu now has a body that can travel anywhere. As for why it has to be a princess, I'm not sure. But it is a common trope in fantasy. I mean, this has happened to Princess Zelda plenty of times. Great point. Great point. P.S. Giola's art piece in chapter 722 gives me some strong Gunko vibes with how the eyes are opposite colored. A sun-like light is shining on the face and one of the eyes are crying. Gunko is afraid of Sun God Nika, so is there a connection? Pretty unlikely, but I just want to throw it out there. Quag 2, awesome continuation to the comment earlier. That truly blew my mind in the stream and continues to do so. But I think this idea of exposing of Emu not being able to leave the room because of fearing the sun is so fascinating to me, mainly because of the whole light in the dark motif that they're going for, right? With not just Luffy and Emu, but also with Luffy and Blackbeard. So when you have someone like that, especially the way that he's silhouetted, we may be looking at both a metaphorical and literal thing, with Emu actually being afraid of the sun in more ways than one. Being afraid of the potential of the sun, being afraid of the literal sun because it can do damage to him, as well as what it can, it has the power and the potential ability to do, as he's seen through 3 different generations, right, in 3 different worlds. And like, no matter what happens in each world, it always comes back, right? The sun always rises. The dawn will once again come. It just feels so in line with the themes of One Piece that I love that idea, Quack2. That is great. Great stuff. Appreciate you, Quack2. Thank you so much for leaving that comment. Caribou-kun comes in and says, if this really means Emu is the Antac for Elbaf, I think this means Oda intends the final arc to be the Yonko Royale he intended the story to be from so early on. There's a straight brawl between the Straw Hats, Blackbeard Pirates, the Red-Haired Pirates, and the Cross Guild. I'm still not fully sold on Emu being the final Antag of this arc. Mainly because of the way that Emu is able to enter and leave this body at will, I'm assuming. So when things are looking kind of crazy, or whenever Emu has to go back to the Marijoa, then that's going to be a moment whenever Emu goes back, right? So Emu doesn't necessarily have to stay here. But what I think is fascinating is how everything that happens here because of Emu's presence is going to have long-lasting effects in the rest of the arc, as well as what could potentially happen after that within the final saga as a whole. But I'm so interested on this idea that you presented on Oda intending the final arc to be a Yonko Royale with the Straw Hats, Blackbeard Pirates, the Red-Haired Pirates, and the Cross Guild. That fascinates me, because even though I don't think that is the way that the series is going to close, because of like the Void Century connections, and especially after the mural and how carrying all of those years, thousands of years of history on his back, Luffy's going to fight Emu as presented by, from what we saw in the mural and in the texts. And especially after we get out of the Void Century, right, it's going to further reaffirm that. But the idea of you saying that Oda intends the final arc to be that way, even from so early on, with those characters being so prominent, with how those characters have been so relevant throughout the course of the entire story, and all of them being the representation of pirates in their own ways. Luffy, Blackbeard, Shanks, and Buggy, all being representations of what it means to be a pirate in this series in their own unique ways, while also being like flip sides of their particular coins. I'm fascinated by that being the final battle royale, the final fatal 4-way, especially on Laugh Tale, because then it would really go to show that whoever does find the One Piece actually, or whenever the One Piece is found, the series actually does come to a close, right? Like it's the battle royale, to sort of see who gets access to Laugh Tale, and I think that's so incredibly interesting. But that's a great comment, Caribou-kun. I think that looking at it from that perspective allows you to be able to potentially see a different type of outcome for the end of the story, and where we could be going from here, right? And it is interesting because it keeps it a pirate manga, as we know it all is, But thank you for that. Fatima F. Zell then comes in and says, Gabon says Colin is his treasure. Emu showing up at the end was not expected in his hype. It's one of the craziest moments ever. Gunko might be the princess of the kingdom, where Brooke was a convoy. Yeah, that was brought up within the stream. And the Marijo on fire, could it be a metaphor? I'm trying to lower my expectations, and that's also an idea as well. Like, something being on fire could be like something is in chaos, something is in like it's going absolute crazy up there. But the idea that it is insane, the idea that it is crazy, I think is the important part. Not necessarily that it's on fire. It's that things are really crazy and chaotic in the Muddy Joel right now, and that could mean a lot of different things, right? That could be internally or externally. Internally, it could be like something happening after Garling took over, that or maybe they're still dealing with the whole shortage of food and how that's impacting the citizens within the Marijoa. That most certainly can be the case as well. But I do think it's going to be a combination of the two, where it's both an internal thing with the characters that are citizens of the Marijoa, as well as an external factor of like either the Revolutionary Army or the Blackbeard Pirates or even the Red Haired Pirates getting involved in this entire situation. And that to me is where all of that comes into play. And I just think that is a representation of the Marijoa being on fire, it both metaphorically and literally, that we could potentially see. But I do think it just means that the place is in chaos right now, and that means just I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see what that means. But Gabon saying Colonist's treasure was definitely one of my favorite moments of this chapter. Before we got to the ending, obviously. It was a great call for someone who has seen the greatest treasures the world has to offer. To call their child this particular treasure was just a really beautiful thing, especially for somebody who was a part of Roger's crew, right? Like you know what this individual has seen. For them to still say that is unbelievably cool. All right, man, going to read two more here. If not, this video's not going to be able to go up. Muglaton comes in and says, the idea that Emu can directly take over other people's bodies, especially women, is fuel for the theory that Emu has possessed Lily's body. We were discussing that in the chat stream, and I most certainly do believe that theory appears to be online now. Well, like it's so prevalent at this point in time. That's why he has a picture of Lily in his room with the eyes shaded by Oda. It's a portrait of Emu, and I'm so down with that theory. I am so unbelievably down with that theory, and it most certainly, it feels like we're on the route of that being a reality at this point. Marijoa burning is far more likely to be a result of Lafitte and the Blackbeard Pirates than it is Dragon. Lafitte was last seen eyeing up Marijoa for some kind of plan, while Dragon seems like he's going to be reserved for the final war. That is also a likely possibility, considering the idea of what it means for the Marijoa to burn, right? If we're looking at it from a metaphorical sense, it most certainly can be the chaos that is currently being induced from an internal scale, as well as externally, and that's that's something that we know Blackbeard and his crew are currently capable of. Especially if Carter and Devon went up there trying to be St. J. Garcia Saturn, that failed because they already know this individual is dead, and that caused immediate conflict, right, between the two parties. So that very well could have happened. And listen, man, if Kuzan found Akainu again, God knows what could be happening there. You know, who knows, man. And so a lot of interesting potential stuff with the Blackbeard Pirates going up there, right? And then, like I said before, with Shanks being connected to family members in this particular arc, I wouldn't throw them out of the realm of possibility either for being up there if the Blackbeard Pirates are up there. Shanks chasing Blackbeard up there, ends up meeting with the rest of his family. We could get some really good Shanks stuff, man. So who knows? And then number 3, don't think Gunko is Brook's daughter, by which you call him Brook and not dad. The relationship seems much where Luffy and Shanks coded to me, and I couldn't agree more. When I originally was reading the material, it really felt like we're looking at a father-daughter thing. And as someone pointed out in the chat during the live stream, it really does feel like, rather than it being a father-daughter thing, that at the very least from the Brook standpoint, that it feels like Brook is someone who's not the Pops, because if not, then she would have called him father, right? Not Brook in the way like you would like a brother or an uncle or a friend, right? And I think that is a very major key difference. And so I'm right there with you in that regard as well. But great stuff, and I'm so interested in that relationship of Brook and Gunko, because of course we were talking about it just from a meme standpoint, and how there could be a strong connection there between the two just because of her love for music, her love for Brook's music in particular, and how Brook could have been the one to turn her over onto our side. But now, especially after that flashback, it very much looks like something that could potentially take place, but in a different way than I was initially anticipating. It was just very, very, very interesting stuff, man. And then Praetorius comes in with the last comment of the day here and says, oh man, so much to talk about. I've been waiting for a narrative to emerge in Elbaf and unite all the threads that are cooking, and now it's here. Brook has someone who parallels his tragedy, an immortal, all her loved ones dead, and under the control of an evil force that possesses bodies like zombies. Man, you couldn't have said any better. That is a cook. Gunko's biggest fear is Nika, the sun. While Brook's shadow was stolen, he would disintegrate in sunlight. Brook is going to be incredibly important to how they overcome the Gods Knights now. And his ability to reach Gunko as well as into the underworld will come into play. So excited to see Brook's story develop after over a decade, 100%, man. It's like we've been getting little bits and pieces of Brook greatness throughout the time skip, but we're really going to get into some good stuff here now, man. And it's super, super exciting considering the Laboon content can't be far off after this section of the story. So, exciting stuff on the horizon for Brook. Gunko seems to have been a princess of the West Blue Kingdom Brook once served. Seeing the King of God Valley in the anime this week, also the West Blue, I wonder if maybe after Brook left, the kingdom was dissolved with a slave hunt as well. And then Gunko was taken as a God's Knight. I saw a theory recently that Thriller Bark maybe God Valley. Ooh, it came from the West Blue, Silver Axe, and Captain John's body. Yo, that's a cook. That's a cook, man. That's a great, great theory. I don't know if I would say that Thriller Bark was God Valley, but I would definitely say that there's a connection there. There's no doubt in my mind, especially now that you bring this up. But the mountains are missing. Exactly. It could possibly be Gunko's kingdom instead. But if so, did Brook not recognize it? I don't know, just a thought. For a long time, we've thought Dofi needed Law's body's swap powers to steal Imu's identity. That is definitely a theory that we once had. But now we know Imu's powers allow him to possess other bodies. It's possible Imu uses Gunko's body often, for example, when killing Cobra. And yes, 100%. It seems he used her arrow powers, and now the events that took place up there actually make a lot more sense. Lily may be the main body he uses. As Quag 2 said, maybe only the royal blood of princesses is good enough for Imu. If true, there may be no main identity to steal. Instead, maybe the way Imu uses his power is how he's able to rule the world from the shadows. Ooh. That's a cook. That's a cook. And Dofi planned to mimic that with the OP powers. Dofi's tragedy is that he couldn't escape the prejudice against his history. Imu gets to be no one and have no history. Oh, that's poetry right there. So much to think about, but so much more to come in the next chapter. No break next week. Great Taurus. Great comment. I love the connection there with Doflamingo, because you're absolutely right. And I think that's been the one thing that has fascinated me about Imu, more than any other aspect of his character, is that when you compare him to the other characters in the series up until this point, the one who actually accomplished what he set out to do does not want all of the glory and the fame and the acknowledgement that all of the other kings are looking for from their contemporaries, from the individuals that they rule over. Imu doesn't even want these people to know that he exists. And that's why he's been able to rule for all this time. And it just makes me so curious on seeing the Void Century eventually, and seeing what caused Imu to be this way. Was Imu always this way, or did the death of Joy Boy change Imu to be this way? Potentially even the death of Lily as well. So it's just fascinating stuff, and I love that this chapter is creating these types of discussions, because who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? But ladies and gentlemen, I really need to cut the video off here. If not, we're definitely not going to get this uploaded. So I appreciate everybody who left their comments. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to as many, but I tried to do as many as I possibly could with the time allotted. Thank you all so much. Imu greatness. I can't believe this chapter's real. I'll see y'all.